Welcome in, everyone, and thank you for listening to the 126th ever episode of the Missouri Sports Podcast, brought to you by 106 Apparel and recording from the Revel Advertising Studio in beautiful Springfield, Missouri. I'm one of your hosts, Cameron Albert, alongside my good friend and fellow Mizzou fan, Kyle DeVries. How are you doing today, Kyle?
I'm great, Cameron. How are you?
Are you?
Yeah, I'd say so.
We've been riding the stock market roller coaster this week.
Yeah, we have. We've really been going through it, haven't we?
Yeah. Surely everybody by now, by the time you're listening to this, GameStop stock is, all over the news. It has gone mainstream.
We're fighting the world's elite,
yes,
aren't we?
Yeah, we're doing our part.
Yeah, we will never sell.
Yes, diamond hands forever. That's what we've been doing this week. It's been fun.
Yeah. We've also been we're planning a little boys trip out to Colorado with us three and a few other boys, and it has been a chore finding an Airbnb that fits all of our needs and wants and desires.
Yeah.
But I think we've maybe finally done that. But it
took some compromises. It took some good conversation. Some
days long conversations.
Yes. It took being rejected by a property manager, but we finally found one.
Yep.
So now we got to think about how we're gonna do with the podcast in March, around March Madness time. We'll figure it out. We'll have to. Missouri's gonna be in it. So.
Yeah, they are. Yeah, if they make it to, I think we're going to be driving to Colorado on one of the second round days. So if Missouri happens to be playing on that day, I don't know what on earth we're going to do, but we'll.
One of our friends, that doesn't have podcasting duties, is going to have to drive, and we'll watch on our
cram three in the back seat,
probably
gather around the phone.
Yeah. Kyle, we've got some stuff to talk about up front here before we get into all the news. Of course. We would encourage everyone to check us out on YouTube, subscribe there if you could, leave us a comment. Lots of comments on the last episode. I got to really engage with the folks.
Yeah, thank you for that. That was fun.
That was really fun. But we've got a big announcement to make, Kyle. I don't know are you aware of that?
Yeah.
We have a Patreon page. And if you are familiar with that, great. Check us out, patreon.com/Missouri Sports Pod. If you don't know what that is, it is a website that helps content creators set up rewards, tiered rewards for their, in our case, our listeners and anyone who likes the content that we make. And it's a way for our listeners and supporters to support us and get rewarded by benefits like extra content and exclusive community access and things like that. So our goal through this is to raise a little bit of money, potentially be able to raise the production quality, maybe be able to dedicate more time to this than we currently do, and then also develop a community where our good friends and fellow Mizzou fans can talk about Mizzou sports and maybe get some behind-the-scenes looks into the podcast production. But you can see all the tiers and everything at patreon.com/Missouri Sports Pod. And there'll be a link, obviously, in the description of this video and in the podcast feed.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, one of the things on one of the tiers is a Discord group that everybody in that subscribing tier would get to be in kind of a group chat with us three and just interact about all things Mizzou or really anything. So that would be kind of fun just to build a community in Discord. But
yeah. If you're not familiar with Discord, it's kind of like a message board mixed with a chat room of sorts. And it's a really cool way to just build a community and talk to each other.
My only stipulation is if you subscribe, you have to pay us in McDonald's bags. So I'm gonna be the first subscriber.
Oh, you've got. Oh, wow. McDonald's bag.
Go. Are you the money taker?
We're securing the bag today.
Yeah, there
folks.
you go. Go ahead and open that.
Oh, wow.
Oh, no.
Can't wait to see what's in here. Oh, my goodness.
There you go. I'm the first Patreon subscriber.
Wow.
Oh, man.
Look at that. What do we have here? $8.
I don't know what that'll get me, but
we don't have an $8 tier. So you'll get a $3 refund.
Great.
But wow, that I can't thank you enough for the support.
Yeah, you're welcome.
And I'm keeping this. So
cool.
Hope you had that.
Yeah.
Hope that's what you were planning.
Absolutely.
There.
Yeah. Have a good one.
All right. Yeah. So we're excited to roll that out. Go check it out. And of course, It goes without saying, but I'll just reinforce it. You do not have to give us any money to access our podcast. You can just keep listening exactly how you always do, and nothing will change. If you do decide to support us, you'll get perks. You'll get extra content. I'll go ahead and tell them. We recorded we're going to do a series of classic Mizzou game commentary tracks that you can listen to while you watch full games that are available on YouTube. And we did the Mizzou win over Kansas in 2012.
Basketball.
And by the time, in basketball. And by the time you're listening to this, that will actually already be available for you to access through Patreon. So that is the first little exclusive perk, but there's so much stuff that we're trying to offer anybody that wants to support us. So go check it out, patreon.com/Missouri Sports Pod. Look at all the tiers, see what fits for you. And if it just doesn't work out for you, then no big deal at all. You'll just keep listening or watching like you always do. You ready to talk about some sports?
I'm ready.
We got news, Kyle. We've got a new defensive line coach, and his name is Jethro Franklin.
Pretty amazing name, I got to say. Jethro.
Yeah.
I can appreciate that name.
Absolutely. You got some thoughts? I was going to run down his bio real quick.
Go right ahead.
He has a lot of experience. That's been a trend lately on the defensive side of the ball. He played in the NFL for 7 games for the Seattle Seahawks in 1989. After that, as a coach, he has coached defensive line. Every single one of these stops is as a defensive line coach. Fresno State, UCLA, Green Bay Packers, USC, Tampa Bay Buccaneers, Houston Texans, USC again, Temple, Miami, Oakland Raiders, Seattle Seahawks, and now Missouri Tigers.
Safe to say, I think this guy knows a thing or two about defensive line. Apparently, he has a good relationship with Steve Wilkes, the new defensive coordinator. So I believe that was, hey, I just got hired here. Come on down, and we'll make a good defense. And we are hoping to see that as well.
Just another list, just an incredible resume.
Yeah.
So many stops. Obviously, when your resume includes the Green Bay Packers, USC in 2005, basically their peak.
Yeah.
In recent years. I mean, I don't know what you could you can't really ask for much more than that. Seattle Seahawks, maybe not this year, but have had a vaunted defense.
Yeah, I don't think he was there this year. I think he was there the previous year. But incredible amount of experience. I'm excited to see these guys integrate into the recruiting game too. I mean, just so much to offer for knowledge and wisdom of all the stops they've been at, and I don't know, it's exciting.
Hopefully it translates on the field. May be a little bit of a learning curve, a little adjustment period, but with the players they've got coming in, I think it'll be successful. Speaking of players coming in, I didn't even plan that. Missouri got a commitment from the top JUCO cornerback in the country. His name is Jadarrius Perkins. He was previously committed to Oregon. Now he's coming to Missouri.
Yeah, this is a guy whose recruitment has been a little bit all over the place. Missouri started talking to him last spring, and he, like you said, was committed to Oregon. He had a lot of schools pursuing him still, even up until his commitment yesterday. He gave us a couple of little social media hints that he put Mizzou football in his bio earlier this week, and so there was definitely some speculation that we could be getting an announcement there soon, and we did get that yesterday. There's also pretty well known that Auburn was making a really late, very strong push for Perkins all the way up until yesterday. So, but he is going to be a early enrollee. He's a part of the 2021 class. I'm not sure if he has 2 or 3 years of eligibility left, but he's a JUCO guy, and he's on
Everybody
campus
has
right
unlimited
now.
eligibility.
That's true. That's nobody. Yeah, play as long as you want. That's how we do it now.
Yeah.
But this guy Perkins, he's so talented, and I feel like we're really starting to assemble quite the impressive DB room. Just a lot of really talented guys, and some of which haven't played a whole lot of football at Missouri, but are just I think could have a potentially really bright future.
It's exciting. Speaking of a bright future,
You're on a roll.
Yeah. All you have to do is say "speaking of" and just say like the last 2 words you said, and it works. Missouri would have a very bright future if they were able to get a flip from Luther Burden. And maybe that's more possible than ever because he transferred to a new high school, and that high school is East St. Louis. Missouri's been very successful in this current recruiting class alone.
Yeah.
With the Flyers.
Yeah, they're building a pipeline there for sure with Tyler Macon and Dominic Lovett heading over to Mizzou. I guess they're both on campus already, but I honestly can't think of maybe a better high school for Luther Burden to go to as far as just good connections with Mizzou right now.
Yeah.
And
that may be even better than like some of the Columbia schools.
It's very possible. So he's just as talented as you can possibly get for a high school player, high school wide receiver. He would be just an unbelievable pickup. But right now he's still committed to Oklahoma, and many months still left to go in his recruitment. But I mean, we've heard from all over the place that he still seems to be very open to the possibility of going to Missouri. Makes a lot of sense geographically and schematically with Missouri's offense, and he's now has a lot of people that he knows that are there. So just keep a close eye on Luther Burden. I think there may be some fireworks at some point in that recruitment, but we'll see.
He's so good and just like a program changing type player that he's worth keeping tabs on until he actually signs the piece of paper. Yeah,
just incredible athlete. Like he plays football and basketball, or did at Cardinal Ritter. Is that where he was? And I don't know, just like you said, program changing athlete.
Last bit of news I believe, is Missouri's next football schedule was released, complete with dates and everything. So I'll run through it just real quick. Starts out September 4th against Central Michigan at home. Then immediately road SEC matchup with Kentucky. Then back home against SEMO. Big road trip to Boston College. Then home against Tennessee and North Texas and Texas A&M. Then they get a week off before traveling to Vanderbilt and Georgia. Then they're back home against South Carolina and Florida. And then, of course, ending the season against Arkansas, and this game will be played in Little Rock. So it'll be a home game for Arkansas in Little Rock. Anything that stands out to you in particular here?
Yeah, definitely the front half of the schedule is pretty friendly as far as really Missouri probably should be favored in the first 5 or 6 of their games. Central Michigan, Kentucky, SEMO, Boston College, Tennessee, North Texas. They should be favored in all 6 of those games. I would guess Tennessee might end up being close, just depending on what their team looks like.
Boston College has a really good quarterback that can put up some numbers.
And that's on the road.
Yeah.
So that's good. That could be an interesting matchup that we might be a little bit nervous about when it comes time to play that game. But really wouldn't be surprised at all to see Missouri come out 6-0 in that stretch. Like maybe that might be wishful thinking, but when you individually look at all of those matchups, there's really not any of those games where you're like, Missouri probably should win. Missouri should probably win all of these.
Yeah. At Kentucky will be a very early test to see kind of where we're at with this team.
For sure.
I think.
Yeah, and Texas A&M was really good this year. We get them at home, and sometimes it's just tough to tell like how good a team's going to be year to year, but really no reason to think that they're going to have much of a drop off. So
yeah, but of course it worked out for us that they weren't on Missouri's schedule, but we were kind of not scared of Texas A&M all season.
No, I thought I thought they were fraudulent at the beginning of the season, but they ended up really really coming on strong. We only have 2 back-to-back away games at the end of the year, Vanderbilt and Georgia. That's the only stretch of back-to-back away games that we have in the whole schedule. So I think that ends up being pretty nice.
How about a homecoming of sorts for one Josh Heupel?
Oh man, yeah, Josh Heupel, new coach at Tennessee. He's gonna get rid of the McDonald's bags. Maybe.
We'll give him the benefit of the doubt for now.
Yeah, I don't know, man. I don't know what to think about it. I think he was getting some hate from Mizzou Twitter yesterday. I don't know. Well,
he was getting some hate from Tennessee Twitter.
Was he really?
Yeah.
His offenses tend to be fairly anemic. When at Missouri, he had Drew Lock, program-changing quarterback talent, and they they were fairly anemic when they played anybody that was very good. They put up video game-like numbers. We know that whole story. Missouri's offense was good against bad teams when he was here, but they struggled against anybody that presented any kind of challenge on defense.
And they ended up becoming a detriment to their own defense often.
Exactly, yeah, because they would have those 20-second 3-and-outs where they would throw 3 times and they would just get right back out. The defense would have to just go right back out there. So, he's done pretty well at UCF in the last few years, but a lot of arguments can be made that he inherited a pretty dang good team. But I don't know that I know enough to really want to make a prediction. But Tennessee has kind of been, I don't know, like a graveyard for coaching careers the last few years.
It's been a struggle there in Knoxville for a little while.
Yeah.
And the athletic director that they just hired was from UCF, and then he just brought his coach along with him. And I don't know. You kind of wonder sometimes if that was just like the easy option versus...
And they paid a nice chunk of money, which money apparently doesn't mean anything, but to some of these organizations. But I mean,
or the stock market.
Or the stock market. They don't get me going. They paid a lot of money for a coaching firm, and they just hired Josh Heupel. So whatever.
Now,
but
Missouri's not a stranger to paying a bunch of money to a search firm and then just going with the guy that was standing right in front of you the whole time.
Exactly, but I think they probably paid him $100,000 for a coaching firm, which is absolutely nothing probably in these budgets. But did Josh Heupel go to UCF straight from Missouri?
Mm-hmm.
That seemed like a huge jump at the time, but it worked out for him. They were good pretty much the whole time that he was there.
Yep, I don't think we've got any word on a defensive coordinator over there at Tennessee yet. If we did, I just don't remember. But that'll be huge. I mean, I don't know. You're going to have kind of a flexible defensive coordinator to withstand some of those quick 3-and-outs. And I'd be interested to see, obviously Tennessee fans are going to be maybe watching some highlight tapes and stuff, or maybe some game film from his times at UCF or from his days at UCF. I don't know if their offense maybe worked out some of those kinks that he had when he was at Missouri. But I'll never forget, just literally you could see the defensive players in some games just kind of look like, seriously, we're going back out here again this fast?
Yeah. Yep. I don't know. I didn't watch UCF enough to be able to tell you what their offense looked like when he was there, but it should be interesting. Going to be playing against Josh Heupel and Barry Odom next year, both SEC East coaches now.
Give me how many wins you got? I'm tallying up here. Just no analysis whatsoever. I've got us at... What do you got?
I think if I'm being conservative, I'll say 8.
Conservatively 8.
Yeah.
Oh my.
Because I think they'll start off 6-0. I think they'll do it. I think they will lose to Texas A&M, Georgia, Florida, and probably Arkansas. Maybe potentially. I don't know. We'll see. Arkansas or South Carolina. They may lose another game along the way somewhere. So if I'm being conservative, they're losing 4 games to.
I've got them losing one of Kentucky, Boston College, Tennessee. One of those 3.
Yeah. So conservatively 7 wins.
Yeah. And I think maybe realistically 7 wins.
I probably should have said conservatively 7 wins, but if I'm really trying to guess, I guess I'll say 8.
Is it football season yet? No, we still got basketball season.
Not quite.
Any other news? I'm ready to switch gears to basketball.
Let's do it.
Now, why couldn't these games have just been in the opposite order so that we could talk about the bad game and then have an uplifting conversation?
I don't know. We always end up probably having more to say about the bad games than the good ones.
I guess so. Going back to Saturday, Missouri played Tennessee and just looked great. I mean, this performance from Missouri is everything we ever want to see. Xavier Pinson was dominant. He was making all kinds of crazy, difficult layups and Tillman was just commanding the paint in a way that just allowed the guards to drive.
Right. Yeah, I mean, I feel like really the very obvious difference in this game was Missouri made 3-point shots. And, you know, when Missouri can shoot, I think of the defense as almost like an accordion, if you will, where, you know, when Missouri's making shots, Tennessee has to expand out. They got to guard the 3-point line. They got to expand out, kind of like an accordion, when it creates gaps in the defense where they could get into the lane, and that's what they were doing, you know. And Pinson was draining threes, but he was also penetrating in the lane, and he was just doing whatever he wanted. And the first time we played Tennessee, couldn't shoot, so they just packed the paint, and we couldn't score inside either. Yeah. So just being able to prove that we could make a three in that game was so huge. And from the very get-go, Missouri was shooting well, and it just forced Tennessee to have to step out on defense and open up the inside of their interior defense.
And Tennessee didn't shoot terribly by any means. They actually shot a slightly higher 2-point percentage than Missouri, and it was pretty close to even from three. Tennessee was 41%, and Missouri's 42%. The big difference in this one was the turnovers. Tennessee had 18 turnovers. That's 27% of their possessions, and Missouri only had 11.
Yeah, it felt, especially early, it felt like Missouri was scoring in transition a lot and getting breakaway layups.
I mean, you just can't say enough about Pinson's performance, but also Drew Smith had 18 points. He was Conference Player of the Week. Pinson was 3 for 3 from three. Drew Smith 3 for 9. That's probably more threes than I'd like to see him taking, but he's now the top 3-point shooter by percentage on the team.
Yeah.
So I guess we need somebody that can make them to be taking them.
Yeah, I mean, look at Xavier Pinson's efficiency in this game. You know, 7 for 11 from 2 and 3 for 3 from 3.
Yeah.
And the team as a whole shot 42% from 3, and they just don't do that very often. No. And when they can, I don't know, it just totally changes the entire offense.
Yeah. They out-rebounded Tennessee. I mean, Yves Pons was the only guy that could really get anything going.
He was shooting threes too, which I didn't really expect to see.
I mean, he was almost their only offense. I mean, he was 3 for 8 from 3. He was getting to the free throw line. He was finishing. But I don't know. It just seems like Missouri just had Tennessee's number in this one, and I don't think obviously we didn't expect it because we predicted Tennessee to win, and something is just not quite right with this Tennessee offense.
Yeah.
They were just insanely efficient there at the start of SEC play and in non-conference play. They've just fallen off a little bit, and that they've fallen off just enough to not be elite on offense like they were.
Yeah, they were without Springer in this game, which I'm not sure makes a huge amount of difference, but it could. But yeah, they're just looking. They were looking a little bit more anemic than they did definitely last time we played them. They just weren't making jump shots like they were, and yeah, Pons is really having to carry them. And I'm not really sure that's the greatest thing is whenever Pons is having to carry offensively.
Yeah,
it's almost kind of like a few years ago when Mizzou, like Jonathan Williams III, was having to carry us offensively. Like, he was a great player, great college player, but we just were never
he was doing it as a freshman and sophomore too.
Right, but we just I don't know, with him having to score and be the main scorer, it just wasn't ever going to end well.
Yeah,
but
kind of similar to Kevin Puryear as well, when he was like the number one option on offense. Is like, okay, this isn't sustainable.
Yeah.
Man, I wish we could talk about this game second, because now we have to go into a little bit of a downer. But after that game, Missouri, obviously they jumped up in KenPom to 20. They fluctuated throughout the week. I think they immediately jumped up to like 28.
Yeah.
And
I mean, that's just a statement win. I mean, going on the road, beating the number 6 team in the country. Yeah. I mean, Missouri just, I mean, that is the single biggest win Missouri has had in a really long time. Statistically, maybe since 2012 season. I don't know. I think they were talking about that. But when was the last time Missouri beat a top 10 team on the road?
On the road.
I mean, who knows? Yeah. It's been a long time.
And obviously road games are a little bit different this year, but
true.
The selection committee doesn't care. That's still a quadrant 1 win. I mean, that was Missouri's 5th quad 1 win.
Yeah. Only other team in the country that has more quad 1 wins is Gonzaga.
Quad 1 win.
Quad 1. Anyways, It's just great for Konzo too, obviously, with his situation.
Yeah, that video came out of him just
yelling
Yes.
in the celebration.
Yeah.
That was great.
makes you feel good.
Yeah. It was just an all-around wonderful thing, and we just haven't got many of those nights in a while, outside of this season.
And it just shows you what the team is capable of when they've got it going. And they didn't even necessarily need Pinson to go as bonkers as he did offensively. I mean, he kind of picked up the slack for like Mark Smith, for example, who just offensively another kind of no-show game from him. And so if you just get a little bit more from Mark, then it's more repeatable for Mark to be more productive, and then you don't have to have Pinson go crazy. And even Tillman finished with 9 points, and I mean, he was doing exactly what he needed to do, though. I mean, when Pinson is playing like that, then you just need to, like you said, you want Tennessee to compress the accordion around Tillman at the beginning, and then allow those guards
Give us
to
those
take
shots.
over.
Yeah, that's exactly what they did. The things that Xavier Pinson was doing in this game could give him like NBA looks that he wasn't getting. Like just some of the ways that he was hanging in the air on those layups and just waiting for the perfect moment to shoot whenever the defender couldn't get
The perfect
to the
touch
ball.
off the backboard to get it to.
Some truly incredible plays in this game, and his performance was probably one of the best individual performances I've seen from a Missouri player in a really long time.
Mm-hmm. Unfortunately, Missouri had to stay on the road and go to Auburn and play against the
One of the hottest teams in the country, probably.
Sharif Cooper and the Tigers.
This was really quite the game, wasn't it?
It was like going into it, coming off the high of beating Tennessee, it just seemed prime for a letdown. Like I knew Missouri could beat Auburn, but it just seemed like every circumstance around this game was pointing to an Auburn win. And they were actually favored by Vegas by like 2 points, I think. And I don't know, Missouri, as well as they started that Tennessee game, they did the opposite against Auburn. Just nothing early. Couldn't get it going. Turning the ball over. Both teams turning the ball over.
Right. Yeah, I mean, it's interesting because I don't think Missouri played terribly in this game, and they did dig themselves in a hole at the beginning of the first half for sure. But I do like that they fought back in the game,
and they cleaned it up.
Yeah, they really acted like that good team in the matchup. Like they got down early, but figured out how to get back in it and looked like that ominous, like, oh, here come like this team's really good, here they come.
Yeah.
And Missouri played that role in this game, and against the odds, we're able to come back. And it's just amazing how good or how different Auburn was when Sharif Cooper was in the game and when he wasn't. I mean, they were falling apart whenever he took a breather on the bench, or there was a little bit in the second half where he was having some cramps or something and had to go get stretched out.
Had a little bit of foul trouble too.
Yeah. And they were clueless as to how to run the offense without him in the game. And the second he gets in there, he's just so crafty with the ball. He doesn't even shoot that well. I think he's shooting like 20% on the season from three, but he's so good at just getting in the lane and being able to either, go up with it or find the open guy, kind of draw the defense, the double team down low, and get it to the open guy.
Perfect touch on every pass, just about.
Yeah, he just makes incredible decisions with the ball, and it just makes him really, really tough to guard. And unfortunately, this may be one of the worst officiated games I've seen in a really long time. And Missouri they didn't know what to do because they were trying to, really get physical with him and try and deny him from getting in the lane, but they were getting called for a foul every time. 4
different defenders at him.
Yeah.
I mean, I think I saw Drew X, Mark Smith, Pickett guarded him for a little while, and Kobe Brown. That's 5 different guys that I think guarded him at some point.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't want to turn this into just crying about the refs for
Turn
20
it into
minutes,
it.
but
Turn it into it for 2 minutes.
we really do have to acknowledge the officiating in this game, and it really felt like we had an uphill battle, and there were some really, really questionable calls against Tillman inside, and he's kind of been able to get away from that this year, but he was called for some pretty bogus fouls. The charge calls were awful. It felt like Missouri was they were not getting every charge call, basically getting called for charges, and then when they would be set on defense, it would be a defensive foul.
Right.
Mitch Smith getting called for the foul when he dove for the ball, didn't even touch the guy. I mean, there was several moments where the refs were really making it difficult for us.
And I do think they were bad for both teams for the whole game. They were bad both ways.
I agree.
But what really stood out, obviously, was every time you could almost assume that every time Sharif Cooper had the ball, especially in the second half when Auburn started that comeback, he lived at the free throw line.
Yeah. It's automatic.
Yeah. And he ended up shooting 21 free throws.
And he shot really well, of course.
Yeah, 18 for 21. He got 18 points from the free throw line.
Yeah, he scored 28 points. 18 of them came at the line. Missouri outscored Auburn 65-52 from the field and still lost by 2 possessions. That's how many more free throws Auburn shot than Missouri did.
Missouri shot 18 for 27. Auburn shot 36. They made 36 of their 44 free throw attempts.
44. That is just too many free throws for a college basketball game. I mean, and Missouri shot like upper 20, so we were pushing like 70 free throws between both teams in this game. It's just too many, in my opinion. And both these teams were pretty high scoring in the 80s. So I don't know. Missouri probably could have played a little bit better and could have won this game. They absolutely could have won this game. Xavier Pinson, really inconsistent. Came off his best performance ever against Tennessee and then just completely fell off the map in this game.
Yeah, Pinson, 7 points, 0 for 4 from 3, 2 for 7 from 2. Got to the free throw line 4 times. 4 assists, 3 turnovers. The combination of, the whole team, they were 6 for 25 from 3. And Drew Smith by himself was 3 for 4. Drew Smith, 3 for 4. The rest of the team, 3 for 22. 3 for 21.
That's a fat yikes for me.
Yeah.
I got a couple questions for you.
Let's hear it.
Was Sharif Cooper worth, I'm getting a random phone call, was he worth breaking NCAA rules for?
Yeah, probably.
Probably.
Now, he's been determined to be eligible to play.
Yeah.
So
they took their sweet time.
Yeah. As of right now, that win over Missouri will not be vacated.
Okay, my other question. If Auburn knew how good Sharif Cooper was going to be, would they have self-imposed their postseason ban?
They are a completely different team with him. I mean, they
totally opposite.
They're an NCAA tournament team.
Yeah.
With him on the floor. I was just looking at their KenPom page. They've jumped from 81 in KenPom to now 54 since he's been playing with them.
It would be really interesting to see what their season would have looked like if he was playing the whole time.
I mean, they would easily have. I would call their loss against 100 ranked UCF. I'd say flip that to a win.
Yeah.
And they had a 2-point loss to Texas A&M. So that's 2 wins better pretty easily if he plays in both of those.
And they got a guy in their team named Thor. So I knew we were going to lose.
What are you supposed to do there? You're playing against the God of Thunder. I mean, come on.
Yeah.
Well, Kyle, I've got a question for you.
Okay, let's hear it.
Why, on offense, does Missouri shot get blocked so much? Have you noticed this?
Like in general or just down low or what?
Well, it seems to be in general because offensively, Missouri ranks 330th in the country in the percentage of their shots that get blocked.
Oh, man. I didn't realize it was that bad. Well,
Auburn had 14 blocks in this game.
oh, my gosh. I don't know, man. Xavier Pinson gets blocked a decent amount because once he starts going towards the rim, you know exactly what he's going to do most of the time. He was really crafty against Tennessee, but a lot of the times he gets blocked at the rim. Auburn was really more athletic down low than I was expecting. Kobe Brown didn't have a great game. It seems like he's a little bit undersized, gets blocked on bunnies sometimes. But speaking of bunnies, Missouri missed a lot of close shots in this game.
Tillman has
that really hurt.
Had some head-scratching misses at the rim this year, not just in this game.
Yeah, he had several missed dunks, and it seems like in the last few games.
Yeah,
but that hurts. And there was one breakaway possession in this game where I think it was like Pickett or Mark Smith or somebody that we had like a 2-on-1 and didn't score, and we had like 2 or 3 shot attempts in that little breakaway possession and still didn't score, and I was like screaming at that point. But it's infuriating to not get points in those kind of situations. But to answer your question, I have no idea.
Mark Smith gets blocked. Pickett gets blocked.
Anytime Mark Smith, I don't want to get too negative here. Anytime Mark Smith starts dribbling towards the basket, I just get this bad feeling inside of me. I start having like an existential crisis.
Well, Konzo Martin has specifically said before that Mark Smith is not the type of player to get up above the rim and dunk it.
He doesn't get to the rim very often.
Right.
Like, he usually gets the ball stolen away or something.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, Mark.
See, now this is the problem when you have a big win and then you lose to Auburn before we get a chance to talk about everything.
Well, we got some wins coming up, right?
I think so.
Yeah, there was nothing in this game to make me think like, oh, Missouri took a huge step back and the season's over. And
Sharif Cooper is incredible.
Yeah, I agree.
And Auburn's going to be tough to beat the rest of the season. I don't care who they're playing.
Yeah. They're
going to be right in every game, I think.
Yep, I agree. Got to put it behind us and go beat Alabama.
Auburn has to play Baylor, though, in the SEC Big 12 Challenge.
That could actually be a fantastic game with Cooper going against Baylor's really good player whose name escapes me at this moment, but
Jared Butler.
I mean, obviously Auburn's not gonna like win this game, I don't think, or anything, but that could be an incredible individual performance from a couple of those guys.
Missouri's playing in that old SEC Big 12 Challenge.
They sure are.
That hasn't always been a guarantee in recent years. They are playing TCU, and
who has been not good recently.
Not so great. No. Now the Big 12, excellent conference, has been for the last few seasons, and they've kind of been getting beat up a little bit in conference play. They lost to their last 3 games. They lost to Kansas 93-64, Baylor 67-49, and they lost to Oklahoma 82-46. They did beat Kansas State.
And speaking of terrible,
yeah, they beat Kansas State by 7.
Yeah, they usually try and make these matchups pretty even. I think you just play the same ranked team from the other conference, and it just so happened to where
from the previous year.
So it just so happened that one of the best, I'll go ahead and say it, one of the best SEC teams, it's playing probably one of the worst Big 12 teams. But
when you look at TCU's rankings within their own conference, they are 8th in defense and 8th on offense, 9th on defense. And that's, I mean, the teams below them in both of those categories, we're talking about Kansas State, which is last in both, and then Iowa State on offense. So,
yeah, Kansas State is bad.
I don't have much to say on them because I haven't really watched that many of their games, but that's kind of an incredible feat. They're pulling a Missouri with Kim Anderson type of deal over there.
They pretty much are. Davian Bradford, I believe. That's a familiar name.
Yeah.
I think he's starting, at least in some of their games. Luke Kasupke.
Yeah. He's on the roster.
He's on the roster. He's been playing a little bit. But so some familiar names, but young guys. They're both freshmen. But, they're terrible right now.
Yikes. But surely, I mean, Bruce Weber's got a long enough leash, right, to get some upperclassmen in the starting lineup?
Maybe.
I have no idea.
He's been there for a while.
Yeah. Let's take a look at what TCU does well, and then also where Missouri might be able to take advantage. TCU does not turn their opponents over.
Easy win.
Now, I did mention the turnovers in the Auburn game, and they were pretty limited to the beginning of the game.
Yeah.
Missouri did only finish with 9 turnovers. So that's back-to-back games now with really good turnover numbers for Missouri. Hopefully they can continue that perfect opportunity to have a nice low turnover game against TCU. TCU also sends teams to the free throw line. So you got to love that. And their 2-point field goal percentage defense is 200th in the country.
But do they block shots, though?
Well, funny you should ask. They do.
Oh, no.
They are in the top 100 in blocked shot percentage on defense.
It's the only thing they're good at.
Yeah.
Blocking shots.
So, and they're okay.
They're not terrible.
They're not
I'm making them seem like there's a terrible team. Missouri absolutely should win this, but you never know. It could be a little bit of a struggle.
TCU is actually playing Kansas right now. Producer Cameron, could you get us a score on that on TCU versus Kansas?
Lowercase k.
When you search it.
There are 9 minutes in the second half. It is 40-40.
Whoa.
Whoa, that's a defensive battle.
Yeah, now, honestly, perfect case scenario for Missouri would be TCU pull off a massive upset, win their Super Bowl tonight, have nothing to play for.
I believe is this at Kansas? I thought it was.
I feel like TCU.
I think it's at Kansas. Here, let me click.
I feel like TCU beat Kansas a couple years ago when they absolutely should not have.
They did.
And that was a huge upset.
Mm-hmm.
Go TCU.
Yeah, it's at Kansas.
Ooh.
Wow. Yeah, I would love to see them pull that upset off, and then
the listeners are going to know before we do.
Get blown out by Missouri on Saturday.
All right, you're predicting a blowout.
I'm predicting a 72-60 win for Missouri.
Okay, 12 points, yeah. Control the whole thing.
Wire to wire.
Don't make us sweat. Speaking of wire to wire, Tennessee never led.
Wire to wire, that's what I say. Wire transfer. Can I have my money back? No, I'm just kidding. Okay. No, I'm bought in.
That was the support.
I'm just
we're trying to upgrade equipment and stuff.
Okay.
Come on. We got overhead.
Yeah, true.
What was I looking at? Oh, I want to see what Kim Palm has to say. Kim Palm says Missouri 74, TCU 65. I think Missouri will get out and try to push the pace a little bit. And let me get Missouri 78, TCU 69.
Nice.
Then do we get back to some SEC play here with after TCU, then in the month of February, on February 2nd, we play Kentucky. Is this a must-win game?
Absolutely. Kentucky is not very good this year. They don't shoot well at all. They're struggling. They actually have played a little bit better as of late, but they've only won like 5 or 6 games on the whole season.
They're 5-10 on the season, 4-4 in conference play. Just to run through their conference schedule real quick, they started out kind of hot, 3 wins in a row against Mississippi State, Vanderbilt, and Florida. That Mississippi State win was in double overtime. Then they lost to Alabama, Auburn, and Georgia.
Pre-Sharif Cooper, Auburn?
No, Auburn had Sharif Cooper. Then they beat LSU randomly by a lot. And then lost to Alabama yet again. And if we look at Kentucky's rankings in the SEC, they are 10th in offense, 4th on defense, and they are a solid defensive squad. They've got excellent length. I mean, John Calipari is recruiting the very best athletes with the very best measurables, and they are going to be able to cover ground on defense and defend multiple positions, switch where they need to, have some good athletes down low. Offensively, though, they're challenged. They're last in the SEC in 2-point field goal percentage.
They don't shoot well from three either, do they?
A little bit better in conference play. They're 8th in the conference, so not great. Overall, though, for the whole season, 307th.
Yeah.
So only a little bit better than Missouri.
This team has gotten better as the season has gone on, which obviously Kentucky teams usually do because they try and implement the all freshman strategy, and so those talented players, if they do struggle, they don't struggle for very long. I do think this team is a lot worse than they obviously typically are, but by the end of the season, they might be decent.
And this game's at Mizzou Arena.
Yeah.
And Kentucky's going to be fresh off a home loss to Texas.
Yeah.
I think Texas
Most
is
likely,
good.
Yeah. This makes me think, obviously probably within the last 5-10 years, some of the blue blood programs, if you will, have really popularized kind of just making up their whole rosters of really young, like NBA talent level players. And John Calipari has done it as well as anyone. Do you think that strategy is not dying necessarily, but just is that maybe not as maybe not trending in up like it was 3-4 years ago?
I would say you're probably right if you wanted to make that argument. I mean, when you look at how the NBA is handling young potential NBA players, they are really trying to make it easy for these guys to not play college ball at all. And I think there's a psychological element to this to some extent. I think some of these guys who are sure thing one and dones, it's kind of been established the last couple seasons, or going back a little bit further, that you don't necessarily, first of all, you don't have to go to a blue blood program, and you don't have to put up incredible stats in college. You just need to have the measurables that the NBA is looking for, the athleticism, and be young.
Right.
And the NBA is willing to take a shot on you. So I think there's some psychological element where these guys kind of know that it doesn't matter that much if they blow people away in college.
Yeah. I also do think that, and this isn't always the case, but it seems to be the case more so this year, where they have a lot of guys with the measurables, like you said, a lot of guys that are super athletic, but nobody can shoot.
Yeah.
And I feel like that was really popular in kind of grassroots basketball. And I don't really know if it's still that way or not, but in kind of the middle school, high school age, it's like really focused on just open dunks and athletic dunks and like
getting your YouTube highlight videos and stuff like that.
And it kind of feels like shooting has like gone to the wayside a little bit as a skill. And I kind of feel like this age group of guys who are hitting college right now are in that age bracket where they kind of grew up in the just get your dunks in for the highlight kind of age group. And I just wonder if we're going to see that a little bit over the next few years, where a lot of the top prospects are just uber talented, uber athletic, and maybe develop a shot eventually, but when they're still developing, they just aren't great shooters yet.
Yeah. Well, and they're not necessarily incentivized to be. Now, if they are coming out of high school, then they'll set themselves apart. But the NBA is willing to take a chance on a guy and say, okay, we'll just develop his shot in-house.
Right.
You don't even need to come to us with a developed long-range shot at all.
Yeah.
And even if you can make some threes, there's a decent chance we're going to rework your mechanics anyway so that you're better.
Yeah.
So
a lot of the schools that have kind of gone with that uber talented multiple freshman lineups, Kentucky, Duke, Arizona, some of those teams are pretty bad this year or going through like sanctions.
Yeah.
So it just really isn't looking good for that strategy of recruiting style right now. But I don't know. I probably shouldn't bet against those kind of coaches. They'll be fine.
The thing is, when it comes together, it comes together in a huge way.
Yeah.
I mean, it's not necessarily, it's high reward and it's not really that high of a risk, because if you've just got excellent athletes who can play, you just throw them out there and see what happens. And I think this year you get punished for that a little bit more because of COVID and everything. The more established veteran teams have a little bit more advantage than they normally would. But if you're going to roll the dice on just bringing in five-star guys every season and see what happens, you're going to be successful plenty of the time to make it worth your while. What did I just want to mention? Oh, one thing that Kentucky does, though, they are more than willing to just abandon the three. Like, if they do not necessarily try to keep shooting them if it's not working. And I mean,
Missouri could learn how to do that.
Yeah. I mean, Kentucky, if you look at their statistics, they are, as far as the distribution of points for their offense, they are 332nd in points from three-pointers, 31st in points from two-pointers. They are 324th in three-point attempts per field goal attempt. So they're not good at shooting threes, but they're perfectly okay with just not shooting them very much. But even in their most recent game against Alabama, they shot 6 for 14 and were just completely shut out at the rim, shot 33% from two.
Yeah, that was actually kind of a struggle, wasn't it? That was a fairly close game.
Yeah. Yeah. Alabama didn't play exceptionally well either, 30% from three. You could say, Kyle, you might want to say, Kentucky's offense can be anemic from time to time.
Where have you heard that term?
I don't know. It just popped into my head.
Oh.
I guess I've heard that somewhere.
Josh Heupel, maybe? I don't know.
You got a prediction for this Kentucky game? Let me give you a hint here. Ken Pom says Missouri wins by 4.
That probably is pretty close to what my computer mind would have calculated. I'll say
Kentucky's going to try to slow the pace down maybe a little bit.
Yeah. And both of these teams have the tendency to get pretty cold on offense. I'll say it's a fairly low-scoring game. Missouri wins 68-62.
I can't disagree with you. When you go first,
you just like love my take sometimes, don't you?
When you give your score prediction first, it just sounds so right sometimes.
It does sometimes.
Yeah, and I just
it's almost too right.
Yeah.
If anything like slightly erratic happens, then I'm just out of the running.
Yeah.
I did almost get that South Carolina game right.
Yeah. How close were you there?
I don't know. I think it was like 2 or 3 points off.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
And it was the one game that you said like you really disagreed with.
Yeah. Okay.
Whatever.
How many times are you gonna bring that up?
I don't know. I might bring it up next week.
Okay.
We'll see.
I wouldn't put it past you. Yeah, I'm just going to completely agree with your pick for the score. Whatever you said, I don't even remember. 68-62.
2.
That's a good score. And that's what's going to happen, I think.
Yeah, me too.
Anything else? We got let's see. This season's going to be over before we know it.
Don't say that.
We got to come to terms with it before. But we
just gotta have fun, enjoy it.
We're gonna have that postseason play this year.
Have that postseason play.
Now don't look forward to it, because then the season will go by too fast.
Right.
I wish you had it back. Oh man.
Just enjoy it. Just take it all in. I feel like I hadn't been. I was really frustrated the other night with that Auburn game.
Yeah.
And that's a good thing. That's a good thing to be emotionally invested in the season. I'm not sure I've been there. I've been quite there in years past. So, with every year. So. It's a good thing to get mad sometimes. It means you care.
Mm-hmm. Wow. Yeah. You're often accused of not caring about the outcome of a Mizzou basketball game. So.
I know, yeah. I'm very apathetic about Mizzou sometimes.
Right. All right.
That's all I got for him.
Okay. That's all I got for him.
Okay. All right,
Take it away.
everybody, you can find this podcast on YouTube. You can find it on YouTube. You can find it on Spotify, Google Podcasts, Apple Podcasts. We are on Twitter and Instagram at Mizzou Sports Pod, and you can email us at MissouriSportsPod@gmail.com.
You can find our t-shirts and stickers on our online shop, MissouriSportsPod.BigCartel.com.
Speaking of t-shirts, check out patreon.com/MizzouSportsPod.
Do it.
Look at the tiers. Maybe a t-shirt in there for you. Thanks everyone for listening. We will see you next week.